when I talk to people who have like work for companies that have one product,
Mm.
sometimes it seems easier for the inside salespeople and the account executives to know what questions to ask because one
Mm.
product is one focus. And the SEs aren't really involved in the discovery as much. They come in for the demo, at which point they could do a discovery. Every meeting with a customer is a discovery, even like when you're closing the deal, you're trying to discover
Yeah.
the opportunities. But as the company grows in terms of like products,
Mm.
do you see anything change in terms of inside sales doing discovery properly, or account managers, account executives doing discovery properly, or having to bring in SEs? Did you see anything change, or is it still the same process? Nothing changed.
I guess it's the same process, but it does become more difficult. It becomes broader. It becomes yeah, tougher to get all of the nuances out that you need or that you would want. But it's also an educational piece because you can't expect the customer to come to you with a full rundown of every single challenge that they've got, because they're actually trying to learn about all the things that your technology can do, and they don't know what they don't know. Right? So they're coming. I think, based on what I've heard about you, you can help us solve these challenges, but there might be other things, and we want you to tell us actually what those things are. So I think it follows the same process, but there's a lot more sort of information and nuance that could be gathered at different places. And yeah, it's the SE's responsibility as well during a demo to ask those things and find out more discovery and find out other use cases.
Are you seeing SEs becoming more involved in the opportunities earlier, or still around the same time? And so why? Why? Either way.
Yeah, good question. Yeah. I think it depends on the kind of segment of the market as well, because we sell to the biggest companies in the world, and we also sell to very small to medium sized enterprises. And in those accounts, in the smaller accounts, probably you're involved for less time. Maybe the account executive has done like a first demo themselves because it's a fairly standard use case, and they want to know a specific question, and you come in to answer a specific question, and the deal can be done, fairly quickly. Whereas when you get into the bigger accounts, I would say that SEs get involved earlier, although the deal cycle is obviously longer. So earlier, even if you get involved at the second or third meeting, that deal is going to go on for 6 months. So, in terms of the percentage of time, you're going to be involved earlier. And that's a good thing, because when you're dealing with those bigger accounts, like the knowledge of the account and the knowledge of the problems that they're facing is really important throughout the whole process.
Yeah. Like as a sales engineer, I always preferred getting involved earlier, mainly because if not, I always have to claw my way back and do the same work the salesperson did, because we had like a million products also.
Yeah.
A million permutations within each product. But how have you seen the SE skill set change from when you had one product and everybody knew the product inside out to now having multiple products where they're not as confident in their knowledge in all of the different products?
Yeah, so I think it is still possible for SEs to gain a sort of a pretty good level of mastery in everything, but it takes a lot longer, because even if you go through every single product training, go into every single possible configuration, like you're still not going to hear all of the objections and all of the you don't know everything around the product, like what the competitive spaces and the other complementary products that people might be using and things like that. So I think it becomes quite a difficult sort of mentality shift for sales engineers. We like to think that we're the absolute expert in the product that we sell. And so you have to have this mentality shift of like, well, actually, I don't know everything about everything. I need to get my knowledge up to a certain baseline in everything, and then like learn and go deep in different areas as it's required, but also know where I can get help from. So you have this constant of maybe a specialist in a particular product area that is embedded within the SE team, and you can call on as you need them. So that is a particular example of like companies that we've acquired. The sales engineers from that company that we acquired, or several of these companies that we've acquired actually, have gone on to become kind of overlay specialists in their area across the SE team. And that model has worked particularly well, I think, in terms of being able to get everyone to a baseline and then extend that when you need to with specialists.
So you said a lot of different things that SEs need to know. Two that popped in my mind, like not two that I kind of retranslated from what you're saying is, you mentioned the first thing is you still have to be an expert in everything. And for me, that meant, that means the SE now has to be a time management expert and no expert, because now they have to spend time. It's not as easy to learn all the products, and now they have to actually be deliberate about learning the products. Spend more time learning, spend more time saying no to the salesperson so that they can actually learn and help the salesperson in the future. That's one. And the second one is leveraging. A lot of SEs have a hard time leveraging other people, the specialist, the customer success, whatever it is. And I feel like that's a skill that not many people talk about, just leveraging other people to not necessarily dump your work on them, but get help basically, and not try to do everything yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, these are soft skills that are, yeah, you're right, probably not as talked about as much, but they're absolutely crucial when the company keeps getting bigger and bigger, right? I mean, the archetypal example is probably something like Salesforce, you know, where a sales engineer at Salesforce can possibly know everything about every product, right? They have to leverage relationships, they have to leverage their network, they have to leverage specialists in certain areas to come up with a cohesive story that they need to tell. So that's a big skill in and of itself. And I think you can help with that. You know, you can formalize the process for engaging with a specialist and make it very seamless. So, you know, we have a very simple way to request specialist help through the CRM system. Somebody gets assigned and all the notes are passed over, and it's just quite simple to do. It's not like you need to go and figure out internally like who the right person is. It's kind of done, that part is done for you. So take away some of the barriers, and I think people will probably get better really quicker.
Yeah, I need someone to implement that in the companies that I've worked for, because in my previous company, the process was email the specialist, and then email their boss when they say no, and then email their boss when they say no, and then do it yourself because it's not a big enough deal to bring in the specialist.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're using a CRM based process essentially to like make a request. That request goes into a queue, and the manager of the specialists finds these things based on workload and balancing deal sizes and all those type of things. Which is actually the same process we use to assign a sales engineer to a deal in the first place, but we're just using it for a specialist overlay as well.